Hello, my friends, and welcome to a very special episode of the Million Pound Mission podcast, where you're going to get to listen in as I do some coaching with members of our free Mission Possible community. Now, inside this amazing free community, we're doing regular one-on-one hot seat strategy sessions, group chats, and special guest deep dives, and that is only the beginning, my friend. Now head on over to millionpoundmission.com and join the Mission Possible community for free, and download your virtual welcome kit so you can join us on our next video chat or strategy session and take advantage of all of the amazing transformation resources I've put together for you inside that free membership. All right, without further delay, let's dive into this episode. All right, Jen, welcome to your hot seat session. What would you like to focus on here today?
Hey, well, I guess I kind of had to laugh a little because I mostly signed up because you told me to sign up, and being an obliger, I signed up. But I just feel like there's so much stuff going on right now that I'm having a hard time focusing on what I need to be focusing on. And I'm not sure what exactly that is, whether that's balance. Sometimes I feel like the balance is what's missing. The social media piece of it is I'm really struggling with, because I know that's part of the accountability part, but at the same time, like, it's such a soul suck to me, because it's like everything else is going on and then it's just one more thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure where to find that balance exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's start with your goal. Like, what do you feel like? I feel like sometimes when we get frustrated with just feeling like there's a lot of stuff happening and we're kind of frazzled by that, a lot of times we don't have a direct focus point that we're moving towards, and that kind of calms the storm a little bit. So what do you feel like you're wanting to drive towards right now as far as a goal?
Well, my biggest goal right this minute is I've just got to get some of this weight off, and I can't figure out what the best way to do it is. I mean, I've been tracking since like February, and I put it into a graph actually because I was getting frustrated with the ups and downs. And it's just like, since February, I'm literally like within 0.4 pounds of where I was. And I'm like, it's ups and downs. It's not even like a gradual down. And so you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't, and there's been a lot of life happening in the last 6 months, which I'm hoping that kind of calms down a little bit. It's one of those, like, nothing else can possibly happen. So we have to start going on kind of an even keel at this point. But like, I want to test probably in September now, but I want to be in a smaller uniform. I want to be in a smaller body because it's easier to do that in that smaller body. But it's like, it doesn't matter how much I'm working out. Like, I had emailed you about kind of a horrible family situation a couple weeks ago, and like, I was not able to eat. I wasn't able to like do anything. And even after 10 days of that, I was still up 1.4 pounds.
Yeah.
And I had gained doing the sugar detox pretty pristinely. And I just don't know what the answer is. Like, I'm not sure which direction to go at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think, so now we know the goal is we need to reduce body weight. Just basically make your body more efficient for this black belt test that that's coming up. And that's important. So would you say, just nutrition wise, when you look at that chart, do you feel like your nutritional consistency has been, like, sometimes we put these expectations on, like, I'm working really hard, but we're kind of, the ups and downs of our nutritional focus is directly in line with the ups and downs of our weight loss. So there's kind of like, I got stressed out and I had a couple of bad weeks and I really focused hard for a couple of weeks. Would you say that's the trend, or do you feel like?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So that makes sense. I mean, that's the thing. We can't lie to ourselves and be like, well, I understand that you feel frustrated, but you have to kind of like, if you were like, I am 100% on plan for the last 6 months, my weight just keeps going up, then we got something wrong. But I mean, it makes sense if the nutrition's kind of going up and down, so that your body's going to try to figure this thing out. Like, I deal with a lot of people that have lost a decent amount of weight, they gain it back, and then they kind of bounce back and forth. And your body is just like, what is the normal right now? People tell me what normal is. So I feel like your number one focus point really needs to just be, we need to find a plan that you feel really good about just being very consistent with. And we got to think long-term. So it's not necessarily a sprint till September with the black belt test. It's like, okay, what plan do I feel really good about that I could hang on with as a base, and then maybe make a few little tweaks here and there for like just 6 months, that you feel really good about, and really dialing in consistently with that. And then, I think things will turn around because you're getting, as long as you're getting your workouts in and things like that, which I know you will. So I would say that's just kind of a good foundation point. And that way we could figure out like, okay, maybe our sleep isn't so great, or maybe our stress levels are screwing things up, or maybe we need to change the workouts. But without that nutritional foundation, that just consistency, it's really hard to see consistent results with our weight loss, but also it's hard to kind of pinpoint what the next step needs to be, because that's always the first step. Does that make sense?
For sure.
So what do you think? We've done some keto stuff. We've done like clean eating, whole food stuff. Like, what do you feel like is a good home base for you?
Honestly, being like the eating clean with lowish carbs is probably where I feel the best. But I think where I run into trouble is when I'm eating, because I'll track, and when I'm eating clean, it's hard to get a lot of calories in. And so I'll end up at the end of the day at like 1,200 to 1,500 calories. And especially with class and whatnot, like I just feel terrible.
Mm.
So like body wise, I feel better, but like energy wise and focus wise, mentally wise, I just feel awful. So I know it's not enough calories. I just don't want to swing so far the other direction that becomes counterproductive. So I'm just not sure what the appropriate calorie target is, or, whether I need to have bigger meals earlier in the day, because when I come home from work, like that's generally when I stop eating, because class is so late.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go to class on a full stomach. And then if I don't eat something after, then it's 10, 11, 12 o'clock before I'm able to wind down to go to bed.
Yeah.
So I know that sleep is part of it too. I know it's a whole package. It's just like trying to fit in what's the most important maybe is part of the issue.
Yeah. The kind of the pecking order that we always want to, like the check down list is always going to be, nutrition first, like nutritional consistency first, then sleep, then fitness. So if we're like, when time is limited, that's the check down list that we use. I've got an extra hour. What do I do? Well, if we're low on sleep, then prioritize sleep. And then we do the nutrition. I think I said that backwards the first step. So it's sleep, nutrition, and then fitness. And that way, if you are low on sleep, you're only sleeping like 4 hours a night, then that's going to lead to reduced willpower. That's going to reduce, your decision-making, the next day.
100%.
So if we have that extra hour, invest in sleep first, invest in nutrition second, invest in fitness third. And, sometimes we're just low on time, and you got to just make things fit your schedule. And that's, but you have to be smart with it. So for example, next week, I'm gonna be traveling for the second half of the week. And I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna be able to get 5 hours of my normal strength training like I normally do. So I'm going to do 2 really solid hours, adapt my schedule a little bit, and it's in prep, do meal prep, pack what I can, kind of strategize that for the trip so I can eat real clean. And, it's a week. So you just figure it out. But back to you. So I think with your calories, okay, we can't serve 2 physical masters at the same time. All right. So, but we have to the next priority we need to decide on is performance and weight loss, because when you are fueling your body for performance, that looks different than if I'm fueling my body for weight loss. So for example, if I was going to go and do like a CrossFit competition, I would fuel my body for performance, because that's so I want, and what that means is calorie surplus, maybe extra carbohydrates, extra fats, whatever, but we're more in that calorie surplus because we want all that energy to go towards performance, maximizing recovery. When we are eating for weight loss, we are in a caloric deficit, not like starving ourselves, but we're burning a little bit more than what we're consuming. So that will make our performance suffer, and mental and physical. And there's always that transition period, the first couple of weeks where you get kind of foggy and, kind of cranky, and, sugar detox and things like that happen. So we have to think, all right, with you, you're going for performance on that day,
I was say sort of.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's important. So what I would suggest doing is being like, okay, so I need to, it's going to help me a lot on my black belt testing day to be at a lower, more efficient body weight. So, the months leading up to that, focus on maximizing our body weight efficiency. So dropping some body fat, without totally just losing it on your martial arts skills. Obviously, like you need to be able to perform enough, but that's kind of, you look for the minimum effective dose of like, all right, I'm still in a bit of a caloric deficit. I'm dropping body weight, but I'm able to perform up to a certain standard. And that's where we'll have to test a little bit with the calorie goals and things like that. But I definitely think you're eating too few with like that 1,200 to 1,500. Like we should bump it up regardless there, because you're being active. So, and then that last like week or so, maybe the last 2 weeks before your competition, that's where we ratchet up the calories a little bit. You're not going to gain weight from doing that necessarily. It's just, let's just bump it up enough to where you feel really sharp. You're sleeping really well. You're not feeling hungry or hangry, and your body's just ready to perform. So I'd almost look at it as two phases of maximizing body weight, boom. And then the last couple of weeks, we really prime you physically and mentally for that test. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So, not being able to get enough calories in, that's, I won't call it a good problem to have. It's an easier problem to fix than somebody's like, I'm eating so much, I'm starving. Right.
Yes, I've been there too.
We just have to find calorie dense sources of food to get in earlier in the day. So you got to, like you said, you got to make breakfast count. Like we can't have a protein shake for breakfast on the go. Like you're at home, you got to eat something that has some calories in it. Like that's important. And then you have to think like, okay, if I'm at home base, I have bigger meals. When I'm on the go, that's when I have my lighter meals, my bars, my shake, my bag of almonds and sliced up veggies or whatever. Those are quickie on the go meals. Don't do those when you're at home, because you need to make the sit down at home time count where you can actually eat like whole food dense, calorically dense food. So I definitely think let's nudge those. I would use 1,500 as a lower level, and maybe, let's test for a couple of weeks and go, okay, let's aim for 1,500 to 1,750 or 1,500 to 1,800. Let's see how you feel mentally. Let's see what the scale says, but also let's let the body just know that we're doing this, we're fueling ourselves. This is the new normal. And let's just let that stabilize a little bit. And what I would guess will happen is that you're going to release a whole bunch of fluid and water weight from just that. That's what our body does. When we're sick, when we're stressed, when we're injured, our body holds onto water. Right. And so there's going to be a point in time where you start flushing water out, and then everything will stabilize and you'll start to see a nice steady decline in the body weight, body fat. And that's what we'll kind of be looking for. So does that make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the next step, so we know we're aiming for a body fat reduction goal, priming for performance last few weeks. We're going to use clean eating, focusing on nutrient dense foods earlier in the day to try to get the calorie goal up. So we got those steps. I think just defining the rules of clean eating, like, are you going to use one of my nutritional plans, or, I just want you to define like, this is clean eating and that is not clean eating, so that, like what would count as a cheat meal and things like that. So that's something to think of this next week, over, just as we head into the new cycle. I think that's going to be important just to define that. That way, because you're an obliger, we got rules,
Right.
So
yes,
we have the protocol to follow. So, what do you think about that? You want to use like my classic clean eating plan that's with the Hello Abs thing, or do you want to define your own rules there?
probably define my own rules to a certain degree, which I think I can do with what I know, how I feel. The only thing that I think is a little bit of a question mark for me is dairy, and whether that technically is a clean food or not.
The only time I recommend dairy is with keto.
Okay.
Just because it can work with keto. I don't do any dairy myself, because I just don't handle it well. My body doesn't like it. But I would try to go this next cycle without dairy and let's see what happens, because dairy, a lot of times, that's when I see people that are stalling on weight loss, we get rid of dairy. That works some magic. So that might be a nice little variable shift right there.
Because I'll eat a fair amount of yogurt, cheese, that kind of stuff. Not much milk, anything like that, but yogurt and cheese probably are the biggest pieces. And I'm just, like I said, it's gray.
Yeah. Are you doing any like omega-3 supplementation or anything like that? Fish oil, flax?
I remember.
That might be something to ramp up too. That'll help, because that's calorically dense. Do you have pills or liquid with the omega?
Pills.
Okay.
Pills.
I'm not sure how that breaks down. So I just do like a tablespoon. I know that's like 120 calories of, the fish oil. So you have to just this should have some sort of calculation there. But I would ramp that up with the omega-3s. I mean, I would try to shoot for 4 or 5 grams. I mean, that's what they'll normally recommend is like maybe a gram, but higher doses, especially when you're dealing with stress, potential stressful situations. If you feel like your body needs to release some inflammation, it's going to help with body fat reduction. And it's just damn good for you. So, I would maybe just, that might, in your battle plan workbook, that may very well be a good habit to track this next 28 days is, did I get in 4 grams of omega-3s with my fish oil pills, and just start making those X's on the chart. I think that would be, it's easy to track, and it's going to nudge us towards the goal that we want to get to of body composition that we want to achieve. So that's up to you that's what I would suggest. I think that would be a really nice goal to track, and it's easy. And it's like, I did it or I didn't, and that'll motivate you as an obliger, because I've told you, and you've got to check it off the checkbox now. So
yes, sir.
We're working it. Okay. So let's recap here. We're target point we're aiming for is body recomposition, dropping body weight, specifically body fat. The last few weeks, we prime you towards the black belt test. We're going to do clean eating. You can decide on your cheat meal, cheat bank. I would go somewhere 3 or 4 cheat meals, probably. That'll be up to you. Usually, if we're trying to lose weight, we don't do more than 4.
Sure.
Keep it at 4, under 4 if we're trying to lose weight. And we are going to do clean eating. You're going to define those rules this next week. I would suggest no dairy. And I think so. We have that pecking order of sleep, nutrition, fitness. Use that as a check down list. And I think we'll be good to go. And we'll figure things out over these next couple of months. That way, we've got plenty of time to prime you for that test. So, and you're going to rock. I can't wait to see you with that black belt on.
I hope so.
Awesome.
And my teacher's wanting me to test at the end of July, and I'm just like, I want to have the best possible test I can have. And I just feel like 20 or 30 pounds less of me would be a much better test.
Yeah. And we can get you there. And how often are you weighing?
Once a week.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like that's okay. If you want to push it back, if you feel like you're getting in your head about it, then maybe push it back to once every other week. Something to think about.
It's almost like that once a week, though. It's just like, okay, it's not enough time to get like out of control. Like if something happens, you know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, I'm up like a pound or 2. Be like, oh crap. And so then it's just like, okay, it's that checkpoint almost too. So it's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, no, I get it. But if you feel like it's causing anxiety, then you can reach out to me and we can kind of strategize around that. But no, I get you. I've been weighing myself once a week and just kind of using that as a checkpoint. The only thing is you have to think, like, let's say your weight goes up and you think, all right, am I doing anything wrong? Like, did I go off the rails? Did I have a cheat meal? Don't weigh yourself within 6 days of a cheat meal. I would make that a rule, because you'll hold water, especially if it's like real salty, or if there's some carbs, that like a higher carb amount. So that's a general rule that I do with people. But I think,
well, and the other thing, I've had a doctor tell me in the past that to weigh on the same day of your cycle every month and just weigh once a month. So that way hormonally those changes aren't artificially altering that number too, but once a month just always seems a little that's pushing it out a little too far.
I get where you're coming from with like the weekly checkpoint, just to make sure things are on track. But again, just don't change anything if you are doing all the right stuff. Like if you're doing all the right stuff, then it's just something weird happened. The scale does funny things. Maybe you looked at a piece of cheesecake the wrong way or something, and it just made weird stuff happens.
Right.
So
no, I get it.
I just don't change the, like, if you're doing all the right stuff, don't change anything. And you can always just check in with me, but maybe it's like, well, maybe calories are too low. We nudge them up, or, I got to tell you to sleep more or something like that. So whatever you need me to tell you to do, I will tell you, Jen the Obliger.
Right on.
We'll get you there. All right. We good?
All right. Great.
Good. Feel good about the game plan? Feel like we can take action on that?
I do. Very much.
Excellent. All right, girl. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Now, don't forget to head on over to millionpoundmission.com to pick up your free Mission Possible Community Virtual Welcome Kit. Now, this free resource is going to show you how to get plugged into our community chats, our amazing Facebook group. It'll show you how to sign up for one-on-one hot seat sessions with me, the PhD, and we'll even show you how to start your own local meetup group for that extra support. Now, remember, my friend, this isn't just a podcast. This is a community, and you are an important part of it. So head on over to millionpoundmission.com today and get plugged in.